So, I watched this Michael Jones inspiring philosophy video, part 2 of his series, and it's called The Hard Problem of Human Consciousness, or that's what the video is about. I'll have a link for it in the description. I strongly recommend both of them, but this one's a little better, it's a little clearer, and it's easier to understand, and there's a lot of valuable information that gets parsed down in a really good, easy to digest format. Now, the hard problem of human consciousness itself. This is one of those go-to topics like the secular utility of religion that I would strongly advise if you're a Christian apologist and want to get in the business of winning debates and winning arguments, you should make these some of your go-to debates. Why? Secular utility of religion is basically a slam dunk for the Christian community. The hard problem of human consciousness, or by extension, the end of materialist arguments. The only one I'm aware of who is out there debating these is Eric Hernandez. But it is a slam dunk for the Christian community, just like the secular utility of religion. Why? All the evidence seems to demonstrate the case. If the end of materialism, as far as I'm concerned, okay, if the end of materialism isn't an actual established fact out there in the scientific community, we're right on the doorstep of it being so. There's a lot of atheist philosophers, the most famous of which is probably Thomas Nagel, who are on the same page with this. This seems to be what the science is heading to, and this seems to be what the evidence is pointing to, the end of materialism and the hard problem of human consciousness. Now, one of the problems is, Eric Hernandez is the only person I know who's actually debated on the subject, and he debated he kind of shops a lot of information around, and his information on the subject is really good, and it's derived from all the best sources. There are a couple go-to Christians, J.P. Moreland, I think his name is, and Keith Ward. Keith Ward was in a debate with Daniel Dennett, and in the weeks to come, I'll probably do an analysis of that. I might even have a way to start running videos and posting videos, breaking them down online by myself. We'll see if it works on StreamYard for me. It looks like I might be able to do that. But there's a really cool debate with Keith Ward and Daniel Dennett on this particular subject. Now, these debates should be a slam dunk for the Christian community. Why? If the end of materialism isn't actually an established fact, yet it looks to me like it soon will be one. Now, Eric Hernandez, in his debate with Matt Dillahunty, kind of lost the debate, which is too bad. And he lost the debate because he made the same mistake that almost a lot of Christians make routinely, is he structured his argument to do in a way that was too ambitious. So he claimed more than he was able to demonstrate to be the case. So he had an opening statement. And if you go watch that debate with Matt Dillahunty, it's really worth watching because the information he's shopping around is really, really strong and really compelling information. Why he lost the debate is because he tried to argue that it proves a soul, and it doesn't. And anytime you're going to over-assert in a debate without demonstrating to be the case, especially if you're going up against Matt Dillahunty, you're basically going to lose. Why? Because Matt Dillahunty is going to exploit. If you are saying, all of the information that he is shopping around is valid, and all of the stuff that is really compelling, but it does not prove a soul, and that's what he was trying to argue for in the debate. Which means you're basically handicapping yourself because you're asserting something that you aren't truly demonstrating to be the case. If you scale your ambition down and make the debate, make the argument that you are debating less ambitious, then you can actually win and should win easily. Because in that particular debate, okay, there's one go-to argument that gets shopped around. Basically, if you don't know what the hard problem of human consciousness is, let me back up a little. A lot of you might not know what this is. What it is that human consciousness, at the very least, it is really mysterious how chemicals in your brain can produce anything close to consciousness. Now, why the end of materialism seems to be well on the way to being an established fact is because to me it seems inarguable that your consciousness is immaterial. Yes, it's produced by your brain chemistry, and yes, it's tied to your brain, but it seems almost an inescapable conclusion that there is something about your consciousness itself that is by definition miraculous. There's almost no way, like there are the physicalists and the naturalists, and they say that your brain chemistry and your consciousness are the same thing. This is really obviously not so. Now, why that gets a little bit confusing is because they will argue it's tied to your brain chemistry. Yeah, well, obviously it's related to your brain chemistry, but they don't at all appear to be the same thing. Now, how Eric Hernandez could have won the debate is because the main go-to argument, as far as I know, this is the strongest argument being floated around the atheist community. If any of you are an atheist listening to this and you know of a better one, let me know. But this is the argument from Matt Dillahunty, and as far as I know, this is the best one out there. He was arguing that there is no real hard problem of human consciousness, that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. And he uses the example of water. Again, if any of you are listening to this and you know of a better argument, let me know. As far as I know, this is the strongest counter-argument. And this counter-argument is terrible. That's why it was too bad. Eric Hernandez, honest to God, could have killed Matt Dillahunty that debate. And he lost. He really, honestly, he got pretty badly. And if you go look at the comments sections, the comments bear it out. But his information is all valid. And his information is all really strong and compelling. I had him on my channel and I asked him about a lot of this stuff based off of his performance in that debate. Why? Because I was able to see through what was happening in the actual back and forth and go, wait a minute, some of this stuff is really, really interesting, compelling information. He's really good at synthesizing what's out there. And I'm pretty sure his go-to scholar is J.P. Moreland. Pretty sure, not certain about it. But the one that I like is Keith Ward. Both of them are really strong on the subject. There's a couple other people out there. So if you're really interested in it, the first place you should start is the second video by Inspiring Philosophy. It's quick. 20 minutes, give you a really good idea, get you almost completely up to speed on the subject. But Matt Dillahunty's counter-argument, and again, as far as I know, this is the strongest counter-argument out there. And why that's important, because this counter-argument is absolutely terrible, is that consciousness can be accounted for as an emergent property of the brain. And he uses the example, for example, there is the wetness of water. Now that's a terrible argument. The wetness of water, first of all, the hard problem of consciousness to all scientists, all philosophers, the reason why they labeled us thus is because it is really, really hard to account for what consciousness is given just the facts of the material world. Everybody understands that it is related to your brain. That's the part where the atheists get confused. They say, well, if you damage the brain, you damage the consciousness. Nobody is arguing that they aren't in some form, that they aren't obviously in some form of profound interplay, and they are really, really related to each other. But they are not the same thing. One of the examples that I think Eric Hernandez uses, or somebody used recently, is if you hit your hammer with the thumb, does your brain hurt? No. Your thumb hurts. Yes, it's chemicals being transformed to your brain, but the consciousness of the pain itself is totally immaterial and totally separate from the chemical response. It's not your brain that starts to hurt. It's the actual thumb that hurts. And yes, it's a complex interplay and it's deeply mysterious. The part that seems to favor the theist is that there seems to be almost no way to account for it, given the substance of the material world, and it does seem to be at least partially, by definition, miraculous. Now, getting back to H2O, it's an emergent property, just like wetness is an emergent property of water. That's the atheist counter-argument. It's a terrible argument. Why? Because water is obviously material. H, hydrogen, a material substance. 2 oxygens, material substance. When it gets together, it creates water. Okay, fair enough. Not that mysterious. Wetness as an emergent property is just a quality of water that we experience. Oh, the water feels wet. It's not that mysterious. It's really not. It's not even close to like a hard problem of human consciousness. What would be equivalent is if you had 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, and then you had this quality wetness, Okay? And that quality was able to separate itself from water and walk away and tell stories and think of things. That would be the equivalent, because that's what consciousness actually is. A completely and mysterious and utterly, almost by definition, miraculous third thing that seems to be almost completely independent from the chemical response. That's the part that's mysterious that no atheist can account for. And most of the atheists who are really in the game of pure philosophy, true philosophy, recognize that it needs to be accounted for. So you have atheists like Thomas Nagel who are arguing for the end of materialism. Why? Because there is a part about consciousness that seems to be totally independent from the chemical response, from the material world. It would be as if, the emergent property of wetness, now wetness could talk to you and walk away and paint pictures and be like, wait, where'd the wetness go? Has a life of its own. It doesn't. It's just the quality of water. It's not that mysterious. That's like saying, yellow and you got red and you put them together and you have orange. That's really, really mysterious. No, it's not. It's really not. It's just like wetness. There's nothing all that complicated about wetness. It's just a quality of, it's a quality of the substance. It's qualia. It's easy to understand. Relatively easy to understand. To make it comparable, you'd have to have wetness actually doing things on its own. See, consciousness seems to have a life of its own that's totally independent from the material substance. Totally independent from the material substance. Now, why is Daniel Dennett comes up? Because he's one of the leading proponents of this, physicalist, naturalist. And his main argument, and at some point in the future, if I can get this up and running, and I'm pretty sure I can. If not, John, help. John, help me. Pretty sure I can get it up so I can share screens. And some of you do this. I think Stephanie does it. Dry apologists, I think you share screens sometimes where you take videos off of YouTube. So let me know, because I don't know what the copyright rules are, and I don't want to get in trouble with the copyright arm of YouTube. So I'm pretty sure if you do Unbelievable, if you do those debates, you're fine. If you do Modern Day Debate, you're fine. He's not going to copyright strike you. But I don't know how anybody else responds. I don't really know what caused the copyright strikes. So one of the videos I'll show is there's a debate between Keith Ward and Daniel Dennett. And his main argument seems to be, that consciousness is an illusion. Now that is an assertion. And as far as I can tell in this debate, and I'll go over the debate, I'll post it, I'll analyze it online. He doesn't really back up that assertion. He asserts that consciousness is an illusion, but he doesn't really give you any strong evidence as to why or how we should think of consciousness of illusion, because it doesn't seem to be. The part of you that there is a part of you that operates independent from your chemical responses, that seems to have a complete, on the consciousness level, seems to have a life of its own, independent of just the chemical responses. Yes, it's related to the chemical responses. And yes, the chemical responses are cluing you in. But there seems to be a third element involved here, a life of its own, a mysterious thing that needs to be accounted for. Now, Daniel Dennett's main argument is that that's an illusion. Now, that seems to me like a really strong assertion that needs to be backed up. That's his argument. That's not, what seems to be obviously so isn't so. I swear to God, that's his argument. And Matt Dillahunty's main argument is that can be accounted for as an emergent property of, like wetness is a quality of water. Well, it really can't, because there's nothing mysterious about the quality of wetness. There's nothing that seems to take on a life of its own and then acts independent, that is more than the sum of its parts. At all. Nothing even close. It's simply a quality of water. A qualia. It's a subjective, that feels wet. It's just the way we describe it. There's nothing about chemical reactions that we would think that wetness is any type of weird, mysterious thing. Most chemicals get together and they create a new chemical substance, and that new chemical substance has some sort of qualia. That seems to be a given fact. It's just how things are. So there's nothing all that mysterious that needs to be accounted for. Where it would be really mysterious, where it'd be comparable, and you don't see its comparison anywhere else in the natural world as far as I know, is that you have chemical meets chemical, and then a third thing is combined, and that third thing was able to operate independent of the chemical responses. That's what's going on with consciousness. That's what's actually going on with consciousness. Now that seems to be by definition miraculous, because consciousness can act independent of the chemical responses. Yes, the chemical responses put it in motion, and yes, it is related to the chemical responses, but it seems to have a life of its own. That's the part that freaks everybody out, and that's why they call it the hard problem of human consciousness. Now, let me see if I have any more time to chat on the subject. Okay, 15 minutes, not really that much more time. So, that Michael Jones video you should watch. You can watch them both. That one's a little clearer, more easy to process. I don't know, maybe I'll post that one on my channel. I don't know how upset people get if you start playing around. StreamYard has a thing where you can show videos and start commenting on them. So hopefully I'll be able to start doing that, but I don't want to, I don't want Michael Jones to come hunting me down. Greg, who said you can post my video? Oh, sorry, I didn't know. And the Keith Ward, Daniel Dennett, that's a really, really good debate on the subject. Now, Eric Hernandez, almost every time he goes to bat, when he was on my channel, he's on Stephanie's channel, he's been on a lot of chat shows, even Shannon's channel. He talks about this stuff all the time. He does a really good, really solid presentation that will give you the basics of what I'm talking about. There's a lot more to it than what I just said in this video. But there's a couple important key takeaways. First of all, the end of materialism seems to be well nigh on its way to being an established fact. As far as I know, there are no good counter-arguments in the atheist community. There's a lot of assertions and a lot of counter-arguments that are really, really weak. That's the strongest one that I've heard. That consciousness is an emergent property, hence not all that mysterious or, not really a hard problem. That's the strongest one I've heard out of Matt Dillahunty, and I've heard that reiterated a couple different places. And that one's astonishingly weak. Why? Because it's not even close to analogous. That's why. It's not even close to the same thing. Now, if you know of other ones, let me know. The only game in town that I think is like a real someone to be reckoned with is Daniel Dennett. Other than that, most of your atheist philosophers, even the well-known ones, the important ones, or the ones that are worth considering, are all starting to lean towards the end of materialism. Now, being atheists, they're not saying, well, obviously it's God. See, the problem that Eric Hernandez ran up against when he starts trying to debate his topics is that his information is really compelling, and it's really interesting, and it's really valid. From his information, he draws too many assertions. Yes, it's obvious to we the theists that there is such a thing as a soul, and yes, these have theological implications, but that doesn't mean that those are provable facts. Those are, as far as theism goes, those are still faith. Those are still articles of faith until proven, demonstrated to be the case. Now, if you're in a debate, you are trying to demonstrate something to be the case. So you can't really present the information and then say this proves a soul, which is a huge leap. That is basically a leap of faith. That's a lot more than the information suggests. The information could suggest a soul, sure. Or you could say this is evidence in favor of a soul, sure. But you can't say that it proves a soul, and that's the mistake he made when he was up against Matt Dillahunty. It's too bad. Why? Because he would have killed him. He would have done it. He would have done a Michael Jones inspiring philosophy. He would have really, really handily beaten him really pretty easily, the same way Michael Jones did with the secular utility of religion debate. How Michael Jones won that is he didn't overshoot the mark. He didn't say, there's secular utility religion and therefore God. That's putting a faith claim into an argument. An argument has to be structured, and there has to have logical conclusions, and if you assert something in an argument, you have to demonstrate it to be the case. And if you don't do that, especially in a debate with Matt Dillahunty, he's going to find the assertion, and he's going to get you. And he's going to basically win based on that. So you have to structure your argument in a way that is airtight, rock solid and airtight. As I pointed out, the obvious example, Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is mortal. Did I say that right? Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Yeah, Socrates is mortal. I think I said that right. Sounds right. I don't know. It sounds weird just like that. Rock solid, airtight. There's no wiggle room in there. If you're presenting, you can present a lot of this information in a way that there is no wiggle room. No wiggle room. You know, and you can present this information in a way and then assert something off of the information that the information doesn't clearly prove. Then you have wiggle room. Then you're going to potentially lose a debate. Structure a debate in a way that you aren't guaranteed a slam dunk. So that's what happened. It's too bad. Why? Because the information alone is compelling enough to take out there in the world and start debating and really kicking ass and taking names for the kingdom. Because the information is really strong. And if you don't believe me, go watch the Michael Jones. You can watch both in the series. I've more recommend the second one. It's a lot clearer. It's a lot easier to understand. And it'll give you a really good enough, you know, starting point, introduction to these type of ideas. And from that, you can infer really pretty easily. You know, go look at the comments in the comment section if you want to see. Go look at who's saying what. It's very hard to argue against this stuff, and all of the counter arguments thus far are really weak. That's what I'm trying to say. If this isn't actually established fact that we are at the end of materialism, that there's at least some aspects of the world, some aspects of what we experience as human beings that cannot be accounted for by just strictly natural processes or just strictly materialism, if we aren't actually there, that physicalists and naturalists aren't correct, there's other things going on that they can't account for, we're pretty darn close. If we aren't actually there, if we haven't actually arrived at that destination, we're pretty darn close. Because all of the information presented in the Michael Jones video is really compelling, really accurate, and it points to that. Does not prove a soul. But it does tend to almost prove that there is an immaterial aspects to life. Almost prove it. Like 89, 93, 92% of the way there. Really close to proving it. And again, most of your well-known atheists are pretty much on board. The only exceptions that I know that are noteworthy are Daniel Dennett. Now, I'll look into it. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in the field at all. I just, you know, read up on it a little bit, watched a couple of videos on it, and studied a little. So I'm certainly not an expert. But it looks to me like it's a done deal, and that's where we are headed. So there you have it, kids. That is all for now. The mass is ended. Go in peace. Amen.